Yes, my friends, welcome back. Two massive stories to break down today. I had more videos and stories to discuss, but I want to spend more time on these two important stories, and that's the latest reports around Ugarte. It seems like he will be completing his medical next week, and of course we discussed the latest breaking updates around Kai Havertz and Real Madrid, where I want to share my perspective on why I feel like Kai Havertz didn't really make it here at this football club. So my friends, I hope you guys enjoy. Apologies for not releasing a video yesterday. I already had pre-booked plans for the weekend yesterday, and all I have to tell you is that the night was a lot messier than I actually expected, and yeah, it's been a bit of a recovery sesh today, to be fair with you. But of course, I had to give all of you guys something for this weekend, so I hope you enjoyed today's video. Hit that like button if you do, and most importantly, yeah, share your thoughts and opinions. So my friends, without wasting any more time, so right now, my friends, let's discuss these latest reports around Manuel Ugarte. And currently, there have been some incredible breakthroughs these past 48 hours. As we do know right now, courtesy of reports coming out from Portugal, we are very close to reaching an imminent agreement with Sporting Lisbon to sign Manuel Ugarte. So before I give my thoughts and opinions, let's break down the details of this deal first. Right now, Sporting Lisbon have accepted our offer, and that offer is, matching Ugarte's €60 million release clause, whilst paying $5 million additionally in solidarity payments. And that is an offer that Paris Saint-Germain weren't able to meet. In terms of his deal, it's set to be 5 years plus the addition of an extra year. And the reason why we love to put in like an additional extra year in these deals is because this gives you a very nice tactical advantage when it comes to, appeasing FFP, when it comes to reducing the player cost per year. And these contract lengths are another reason why we are able to spend so much money in these windows. So, let's continue on. Now, the major stumbling block with this deal was that Paris Saint-Germain's wage offer far eclipsed ours. I always kind of felt like we would up our offer without matching Paris Saint-Germain's. And I feel like, and this is where the influence of Pochettino, our co-sporting directors that have been watching Ugarte before Pochettino even came here, with their willingness to engage and entice the player and reassure him that, we are the best club for his future right now. It would be very hard for Ugarte to turn down his professional ambitions to sign for Paris Saint-Germain for a bigger paycheck and an easier division. So our final offer for Ugarte is set to be around €3.5 million after tax, which is still like a massive upgrade compared to his current contract with Sporting Lisbon. For me, I think this is a very good win. Paris Saint-Germain have been very difficult because they've been very close to capturing the player themselves. But in the end, we had a few more advantages working in our favour. I do think that Ugarte's signing reflects a new model that we're seeing at the club. I think I discussed it somewhere else prior, but to give you guys a recap, I think Paul Winstonley, for example, his strategy is on signing some of the top players from, traditionally smaller leagues, because they're more open to allowing you to pay for these massive deals and installments, whilst knowing that the players you're signing, they're on very, very small wages, and compared to like the average Prem player. And I'm going to use Mudryk as an example. Mudryk was earning around 3k a week at Shakhtar. He signs for us and he's earning around 90k. That is massive for Mudryk. And if you were to sign like the same Prem equivalent, you're paying six figures. You're paying like maybe 150k per week. And, those costs add up. So you're able to sign top young guys where you have the contract length to protect you. Let's say that some of these players don't make it here, which could be a possibility for some of them. You're safeguarded by the fact that their player cost per year is going to be very small relatively, which will allow you to make an accounting profit if you decide to sell some of them. So in terms of the transfer strategy, I do think it's pretty genius, to be fair with you. It gets you thinking, why have you not seen something like this before throughout the game? And I do feel like this is where we should get a lot of credit for what we're doing. And I guess the only thing in my opinion right now is that I hope that all this like ingenuity in terms of our deals and transfers amounts to something in the end, because there's no point signing top individuals if the system that you're putting them together is in levels. And I think this is where Pochettino has to be the manager to break the curse right now. And I'm optimistic. I'm not going to get too excited or too ahead of myself. Like, as I've said before, I think my weakness is that I can be a bit too idealistic, where, listen, if everything worked out idealistically, it would be the perfect world. But what stops idealistic things from becoming reality, right? And I kind of feel like as I'm getting older, you have a deeper perspective on this stuff. So, that's what I'm hoping to see. I think Ugarte is definitely a nice step. I do think it's nice when managers are able to have the players they actually want. Too often, most managers are hiring players that they don't want. So I think Ugarte will come here. It'll be very interesting to see how he becomes part of the squad. Share my thoughts and opinions. How are you guys feeling about this news? Let us know below. And right now, we discuss another breaking story today, and it involves Kai Havertz and Real Madrid again. Right now, Havertz is the top target for Real Madrid now that it has been officially announced that Benzema is set to play his final seasons of his career in the Saudi League. Currently, Carlo Ancelotti has been like, listen, Madrid, Havertz is my top priority. I want Kai Havertz to replace Karim Benzema. And I do think that speaks volumes about the ability and the potential that top coaches across the world do see in Kai Havertz. And a part of me is a little bit worried already, to be fair with you, because I'm thinking to myself, I know exactly what Ancelotti is planning on doing with Kai Havertz. And I'll discuss this later on as I talk about the reports. Now, I guess, unsurprisingly, we are very open to doing business with Real Madrid as long as those figures are right. Now, Havertz's contract does end in 2 years' time, and as we do know, when players get to the final 2 years, this is the perfect opportunity to make a move because, anything above 2 years, the price is going to be too high. So in terms of an important offer, we have got some insight from journalist Platigol from Twitter, and he does say that we want a fee between £43 million to £51 million with significant bonuses and payments installed. And come on, when we sold Eden Hazard to Real Madrid, we made even more money based on all the clauses that got activated in that deal. Madrid winning the Champions League, winning the league, etc, etc. And sometimes it is nice to be constantly bringing in cash flows to your football club from these types of deals. So with Kai Havertz, if he was to achieve his potential, then I do think it's right that we can, benefit from that financially if we're selling him. So maybe in total, the final fee could rise to maybe 70 to 75 million. And to end things, I guess the most surprising thing is the willingness to do business as soon as possible, which keeps reinforcing the fact that we must sell players to bring other players in, and it feels like anyone could be sold if the price is right. Regardless, my friends, I'm going to give some thoughts and opinions to end things. I think to start with things, I think one of the greatest disservices around Kai Havertz is that he is only ever seen through the perspective of his stats. And I do think that, especially if you're like a Chelsea fan, stats sadly don't paint the most accurate picture around a player's actual ability. Because all the stuff that doesn't happen for Kai, for me, is the real picture behind the player. And what do I mean by that? Well, number one, I constantly find Havertz in very good scoring positions where all he needs is his teammate to score a ball to him. I'm sure you guys have seen the same thing too. And the fact is, after 3 years, there's been no improvement. And I'm thinking to myself, how after 3 years has this guy's movement and patterns and ways of playing not been fully clocked or identified by his teammates? That's poor. And of course, the assists as well too. Being one of the worst scoring big teams in Europe right now, it's always going to be like a bit of a horror show when you're seeing tons of assist-worthy goals being created and those goals not being scored. And I do think that Havertz has paid a big price when it comes to, players not finishing the chances he makes. But see how he plays the balls. Look at the weight of his passes. He plays his passes like an attacking mid, a creative player. And when he has Vinicius Jr. on the left-hand side and Rodrigo on the right-hand side, cutting in field, I mean, come on, it's going to be game over, to be fair with you. I think one of the reasons why Havertz has struggled here is that he has become this undefined player. And the ironic thing is that we define him by only one or two aspects of his game. So if he's playing up front, we're going to turn to his ability to hold the ball, at least, to press from the front, for example. That means that he can't access the other tools in his arsenal. Like, how many through balls is he actually allowed to play? That's something we rarely see because the right runs and behinds are never being made. When he plays up front, his touches decrease as well too. I mean, why is that? I mean, Havertz is a very connective player where You know, he does the one-touch, two-touch type of play. He can speed the play up. He has the creativity to play balls over the top, between the lines, and the attacking threat to go inside the box too. We've never really built any system around taking advantage of those qualities. So in the end, for me, I always saw Kai as this player that is always playing on a half tank in that sense, where he uses what he needs to use for the manager and for the team, but he is never accessing the full array of his abilities in a game. There's always parts of his game that's being used. And what does that really tell you about the vision or the planning when it comes to really harnessing and untapping that potential? It hasn't been a thing. For me, Havertz became this type of player where, you know, because our squad's been very imbalanced over the years, because, you know, we have a new manager that brings in certain guys, he gets sacked, another one comes in 9 months later, adds a few more guys to a squad where he can't even get rid of the players that he doesn't need, and it just keeps building up and building up and building up. So in the end, when you need to find a way to win matches, because this football club says that if you don't get Champions League football, essentially you're out, it means that there's lots of holes that are created in the team. And I feel like the biggest holes were created in attacking positions. And I feel like Kai Havertz was just forced into these holes depending on the opposition we were playing against, without any consideration of how we're going to make this guy achieve his potential and what's the best way to maximize his talents in his game. And that explains why we saw this constant shift of the positions he played in. You know, going back to that time during March Madness, Kai Havertz playing on the right hand side in attack, where he had a wing back to link up with, where he could influence the game more with his passing and what he did on the ball, not just off the ball qualities. Like, I was thinking to myself, are we starting to see the real Havertz, and has someone finally found a role for him that actually suits his whole game? And in the end, after that period in that month, he's playing up front again because the team needed him. And it's just like, wow, this is how you don't use young players of this level. Because Kai Havertz wasn't just like some flop that was never good enough to begin with. He had all of Europe's massive institutions after him, and those same institutions are coming back for him. And this is why Real Madrid and Ancelotti understands this is my player that I need. He's at an amazing price, amazing age, and he fulfills those deep line forward qualities that suits Real Madrid. I mean, when you see Benzema, you know, Benzema kind of looks like an attacking mid at times with the positions he's picking up. And I feel like Havertz is in that same profile, not caliber, but profile. And I think being at Real Madrid, he can quickly level his entire game up to, you know, hopefully fulfilling the potential that he still has. You know, he's 23 years old. He's not that old. You know, players don't peak until at least 26, 27. And then you're looking at Real Madrid's attack, you know, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, Havertz, and then Endrick for next season. I mean, they're building the next attacking dynasty. I think Havertz is going to be a phenomenal buy for them. And I do think that actually, ironically, he has improved as a player only on like physical aspects. So now this guy is a top presser. He could never press like how he's doing right now at Leverkusen. He's got bigger, you know, he's got a bigger upper body. He can hold the ball off more. I was seeing him, you know, when he first started, struggling to win aerials from players. And in the end, he can go toe-to-toe against Prem defenders to go for aerial balls. So that shows you progression. But he just wasn't allowed to progress technically because we never harnessed his technical qualities. But at Real Madrid, you need to have technicality as a bare minimum, yeah? If you want to make it at Real Madrid, you have to be a football player. And this is a famous club that understands who these special few select players are. Hence why they end up treating clubs like us, like Spurs, etc., like feeder clubs, constantly signing our best players. But I think in this time, they're seeing that there's still unfulfilled potential that we just can't get out. And it's interesting because I would think that maybe, you know, Pochettino, knowing that he needs a Harry Kane style forwards, would maybe turn towards using Kai Havertz to try and like develop him a bit more, because give this guy 2 fast wingers either side and some box-to-box mids that come close to break the lines, then Havertz will come back. But I guess, you know, it's really emphasizing the fact that we must sell players to really reinvest into the team. And maybe the hopes are on guys like Armando Broja right now. Now, one of the realities when it comes to signing tons of great young players is that if someone does leave, that's always an opportunity for someone else, and I do think that Armando Broja would be getting the most benefit from Kai Havertz being sold. I think Broja was the most unluckiest player last season. This would have been the perfect educational season for him, knowing that our season was kind of amounting to absolutely nothing. And he was a striker, and the profile this team kind of needed to. We saw games where Graham Potter at times was using like Sterling and Mudryk up front. And why is he doing that? He's using the paciest guy up front. And if Broja was there alongside his finishing ability, you know, his dribbling skills, his strength, his explosiveness, it could have been a different story. So I'm keeping my watchful eyes on Broja. If he has a great pre-season, who knows what can happen for his chances for next season. I do think that Real Madrid will be the perfect rejuvenation for him. And I have this like sneaking suspicion that we're probably about to see the real Kai Havertz now at Real Madrid's, compared to what we ever saw at this football club, because we've been quite directionless over the past few years. And players like Kai, in my opinion, have paid the price for that. So right now, my friends, that is all the latest news today. Share your thoughts and opinions. And on that note, I'm in EFC, this is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.